Then we met Tyler in the recovery room, and his neuro-oncologist met us. And he explained to Tyler what they saw in the images. And we all cried. And my wife got up to leave the room to go call her parents. And that's when I was with Tyler, when he first said the words, "Dad, I will do whatever it takes." That was the day my life changed forever. Over the next 17 months, I was witness to a lot of hard things. A lot of things that will bring you to your knees. But I was also witness to some amazing things. To some amazing lessons taught by a very young man. And it's these lessons that have inspired me and inspired thousands. He had to do lots of hard things. He experienced lots of challenges. But no matter what happened to him, every day he would smile. And he smiled up until the very moment when his body wouldn't let him smile anymore. And then he smiled with his eyes. Every day he woke up happy and optimistic when he had no reason to be happy or optimistic. Every day. Until he could no longer move, he could no longer speak, he could no longer swallow, and he could no longer see. But that didn't stop him from finding joy and happiness in everything he did. So, these types of lessons are lessons that will, the types of lessons that will make you change your plan, that will make you change your forecast, that will make you change your budget. These are the types of lessons that will change your life. A couple of days after Tyler passed away, we found a handful of journals that he had written in. We knew he'd written in his journals. He wrote in them until he couldn't write any longer, which was a few months before he passed away. But what I read in those journals was his final lesson. Was his final lesson to me that he gave. It was the final lesson that he gave to all of us. And it's the reason that I started Whatever It Takes, Believe, Fight, Endure, Never Give Up, to continue to honor him and the lessons that he taught. To understand what I read in there, you got to understand where he was in his battle. He was diagnosed in February, and by May, he could no longer use his left arm or his left leg. He mourned that for, I think, a few hours, and then found what he could do with his right arm. This once agile, athletic kid who was a quarterback on his football team, pitcher on his baseball team, and he played basketball and he played the piano, could no longer do those things or walk without assistance. He had also had to take so many steroids to keep the swelling in his brain down, it was wreaking havoc on his body, particularly his bones, weakening them. He had experienced multiple compression fractures in his back, just sitting there. Those compression fractures would take 10 weeks to heal, then after they healed, to only have them compress again. Because of the loss of bone density, he had terrible kidney stones that would plague him for the rest of his life. He would pass a kidney stone a day, probably for the last 8 weeks of his life. He had blood clots in his legs and in his lungs, and he spent most of September and October of 2013 in the hospital. Yet I picked up his journal, and he made an entry on December 15, 2013 that changed my life forever. At 14 years old, he wrote, "It has almost been a year that I've been fighting this disease. There have been lots of ups and downs, but mostly ups. This experience has been a blessing in my life, even though it has caused me so much pain. I have made new friends, and I have renewed old friendships. My life is amazing." I'll never forget that moment when I read that. What enables a 13-year-old boy to have the courage to utter whatever it takes when given news like he was given? What enables a 14-year-old boy the optimism to say, my life is amazing when facing unbeatable odds. I thought a lot about those things. This lesson he left, this last lesson, has everything to do with how we respond to the challenges that we face in our lives. It has everything to do with what we do, not as what is done to us. Think about something that you've done that's hard. We've all done hard things in our life. We've done things that we didn't think we could do. We've done things that we didn't know if we could get through. Think about that thing for a minute. Believe. Tyler taught me it's an unfailing belief in yourself and those that walk the path with you. The belief that in the end you'll be victorious despite the odds. The belief that you'll be able to overcome your challenge. Belong and believe. That's some advice I was given years ago when I took over my first team at Dial. A mentor of mine said, Chris, you got to belong and believe. And what he meant was, I had to believe in what we were doing. And I had to belong. And I had to project that to the team. If I didn't believe, they wouldn't believe. It's that belief that will sustain you. It's that belief that will hold you up when you can't hold yourself up. It's that belief that will be a light in the darkness in your darkest days. Tyler taught me about fighting. He taught me about standing tall in the face of adversity. About standing tall when the odds are insurmountable. Early on, Tyler asked a lot of hard questions. Am I going to die? If this treatment doesn't work, are the doctors going to let me die? Dad, what's the survival rate? Those are tough questions. And the survival rate is 0. But I told him the same thing that I would tell anybody. The numbers are irrelevant. There has never been another individual like you to encounter the challenges that you are encountering. The numbers don't matter because it wasn't you. There has never been an individual like you, uniquely qualified to overcome the challenges in your life. There has never been another person like you, so the numbers don't matter. Endure. To continue to believe and fight when the battle isn't won in the time frame that you want it to be won. To continue smiling, even if you just have to smile with your eyes. Enduring. There's a difference between enduring and enduring well. If you believe and you fight, enduring will happen. It's a byproduct of believing and fighting. You will be able to endure as long as you need to endure if you believe and if you fight. So what enables a 13-year-old boy to have the courage to say whatever it takes? So what enables a 14-year-old boy the optimism to say, my life is amazing when you're facing insurmountable odds? I believe that that's something that enabled him to do that, is that very something that lies within each one of us. I think we're all a little further down the path than Tyler was. And sometimes when you're a little further down the path, you might lose a little bit of faith. Or you might pay a little bit too much attention to the odds. It is my belief that we too have the ability to fight, endure, believe, and to overcome anything that comes our way. Some will say that Tyler didn't win his battle when he passed away. Some will say he didn't overcome. I believe he did. I believe he won by the way he lived during his challenge. And I believe he won by what he left behind. Think about that hard thing that I asked you to think about. What do we know about that hard thing that you encountered? One thing we do know is it's behind you. That you did overcome, that you did endure, that you did believe, that you did fight. So what does that tell you about yourself? That tells you that no matter what comes in front of you or what comes along, you've done it before. And you can do it again. And you can believe, and you can fight, and you can endure. Just like Tyler, you are uniquely qualified to overcome whatever challenges you face. Only you. So when you're faced with hard things in the future, you'll allow yourself the confidence to know that you can overcome. No matter the situation, no matter the challenge, you too can declare that my life is amazing. So, it's now my opportunity and honor to recognize someone that has overcome. That stood tall when his road was a little difficult. That didn't stop walking down his path when it would have been easy to do so. I'm honored to present the Whatever It Takes, Believe, Fight, Endure Award to Ken Beauvais.
Congratulations, Ken.
No, I'm kidding.